Hello, Katrina here from Mindful Nurse Gardener. I came on here earlier and I was interrupted by a phone call, so I'm back again hours later. So I'm re-taping this. Me and Squirrel in the background. So I did a talk today with some beautiful women, and if you're watching, hello. And it was around boost your energy. Women leaders share top secrets. It was a virtual community conversation for women leaders. And what we were talking about is when we are in roles of care and responsibility and leadership intersects with all of that, all those different roles that we have. Energy is not a luxury. We talked about energy, a lot about energy. It was awesome. Yet so many women leaders are caring more than ever, often without spaces to pause, reflect, learn from one another in real human ways. So yeah, we had a great gathering hour and a little bit, and we spoke about our real lived experiences as leaders, and there was amazing leaders, nurses, healers, people, women that came out to share and be part of it. So thank you for that today. If you'd like to know more, you can message me. In the meantime, what came up for me and what has been coming up for me, and I didn't really talk about it in the time that we had together, but this is something that has been on my mind a lot, and especially, and I may have mentioned it in my other recordings, but especially since I started doing Reiki and bringing that energetic work in and working with people's biofields and connecting the mind, body, and spirit, all of the parts, because we're not just our mind, we're not just our body, we're just not, our beliefs or values, we're all of it, all together. So, and something that's been coming up a lot for me, because I work with nurses and I've worked with Canadian Armed Forces, and I work with people that have had a lot of low energy, and sometimes that energy can be drained so much from us that it can end up in being I'm just going to turn off my heater here, just one sec. Yeah, so our energy can be drained, and it can be so much so that we end up with a stress injury, or be it depression or anxiety, or maybe it's a physical health issue, maybe it's our endocrine system and we end up with diabetes, or we have thyroid issues, or we have chronic pain because we've been in this stress state for so long and our energy has been drained. So I'm when I think about energy and humans, I think about the environment that we're in. And there's many different systems that we live within, and those systems can be teams at work, it could be families, organizations, but these systems often they often mirror the most dominant energetic things that are going on. We'll call it things, or a field that's going on in the world. So think about if you have a job that's very heavy and it takes a lot from you, right? And or it takes family dynamics, it takes a lot of energy from you, if there's that. Or it could be a toxic work situation, could be bullying, or it could be just never having enough time to just rest or pause. And, you go from work to the kids, to the running around, to this and that. And, we have the beeping and all of the things going on in the world, right? And we know what that does to us. So when I think about these systems, I'm going back to the systems. These systems, I feel, and what I've experienced, really drain us. And I think it's the way that they're built and the model that they're built within. And these systems, they drain our energy instead of supporting us. So, we may have my notes here. I've been writing on these notes. I got lots of things I've been writing about and thinking about, and I just want to come on here and share. I don't know what's going to come of it, but I just really wanted to share this. So we think about, many of us feeling exhausted, stressed, or disconnected, say at work, we'll say. It could be not just because of the long hours or difficult tasks, it's because the systems we work in are not designed to support our energy. So what's energy? So we know what it feels like not to have energy. Just you might feel that lethargy or tiredness or irritability, or it's the end of the day and you just don't want anyone to talk to you. You have no energy. I've felt that many times. So I have a few things written down of why I feel that systems are not supporting our energy, and that, of course they can change, right? We're talking about in healthcare. I'm from healthcare, so, we know the system needs change. Our kids are in education systems, the financial institutions. Look what's happening there with those systems, right? I could go on and on, but we know what's happening. So these systems are built for control, not care. So most workplaces, we'll look at workplaces, are designed to maximize efficiency and control. They focus on getting the most out of people, not on keeping people healthy and energized. This means your energy is often taken without being replenished. So okay, I'll talk about myself. When I was working in healthcare, I would be working all day, full time. At the end, I was working part-time so I could have that balance, right? And find that balance for my energy so I could have some left over from my kids and my husband. So, this means that, if we're working full time and then we come home and then we're cooking supper and we're doing all these things and we haven't had a pause in our day, right? That is draining. Another point, your energy isn't valued. So of course we have beautiful people we work with. I have, oh, my heart. Still have so many people that I love that have been my managers or work way up in the system, because this is a hierarchical system, or, my teammates, right? But the system, we'll call the system like it's this person, right? Because that's kind of how you feel within it. You feel like a number, and I'll get into that piece, like a clog in the wheel. But we'll say the system's a person, because I feel like, I'm going to go on a tangent over here. I feel like, it's not the manager's fault. Here's this hierarchical system, right? And it's a bureaucratic process. It takes so much time to get up to the top. And then you have this idea and it takes this much more time to get back to you to say, no, we don't like your idea. Or your idea's too expensive, or whatever it is, right? But it's a system. And all of those people work within it, right? So we're all part of it. Whether or not we buy into it or not, that's a whole other thing. But I don't think that blaming those above us or below us helps us within it, right? Some of the most beautiful people I know work way up there in healthcare, and my best friend does. And, so I see that, we need to get on that level. I often say that, level playing field, and find some way to bridge to support ourselves in this system, we'll say this system, this person named system. So back to my second point. Okay, so your energy isn't valued. Emotional support, creativity, intuition, these are real forms of energy you give every day. So your intuition, gut instinct, creativity, you have these beautiful ideas you want to bring into your workplace, and that emotional support that you would give your colleagues. So these are real forms of energy we give every day, wherever we go with our work, right? Depending on how much energy we have, right? But because they're hard to measure, they're often ignored or undervalued. This leaves us feeling drained and unappreciated. Yeah, so those individual strengths that we have, those creative places that we go and we can see solutions, but they're often not valued, right? So that is really draining. Third point I talked about here is we're forced into a one-size-fits-all kind of box. And I'm like a I'm like a square peg, and there's a round hole, and keep slamming it, like can't fit me in there. I just don't fit in within a box. Many of us don't, right? I didn't fit in school. That's just who I am. And I think it's beautiful the way I am. And I love that everyone is so individual, right? So, we can't force a one size fits all. That is a rigid system. It's expected everyone to work the same way, which is not realistic. And at the same pace, regardless of the personal rhythms or needs. Prime example. Okay, so I have ADHD, had it my whole life. I asked for a workplace, finally at the end of being in the career, in mental health of all things, I asked for an accommodation. And they didn't know what to do with it. And they didn't know how to accommodate me. And this is mental health, people. And so I work different than other people. There's lots of people with ADHD, but I'm talking about myself, from my personal experience, right? So you couldn't force me into certain ways of working, right? But if you had to, say, measure the impact that I had with my clients, the people, my patients that I supported and care for, I think that's, what is that credit card ad? It's I don't know. They don't value it. It's not measured. So trying to put Katrina in that one size fits all doesn't work, and that is really disheartening. And so many of us have felt that. And because I know I work with nurses, I've worked with, people that have a lot of workplace stress. My last job was around caring for the wellness of people in their workplace. So, if we're tried to be forced into that one size fits all, it really is a misalignment which causes stress and fatigue because you're working against your natural flow. Yeah, listen to Squirrel. He knows all about it. Anyways, yeah. And another point that I had there is no reciprocity. So a healthy system gives back what they take. So a healthy system will give back what it takes. But many workplaces extract our time and energy without offering enough in return, like rest, recognition, or growth. This imbalance leads to burnout. And the last point I had, and I'm sure there's more, but this is what I've got right now. And then I've got another one around how the current system fails nurses. But this is just in general, this one that I wanted to write out for in general, how I feel the system is not supporting people, is that we're treated as a cog, not a co-creator. So the cog in the wheel. So the system often ignores our role as a conscious participant, and we're seen as a resource, not a creator. This disempowers us and it disconnects us from the impact of our work. So yeah, this one for me is, it kind of brings me back to, and I hear this all the time from nurses, and I've heard this from firefighters. My husband's a firefighter, and I hang out with lots of different firefighters or people that are working in first responding world. And I've heard it. It's like, I feel like a clog in the wheel. I feel like I'm just a number, right? And you know, you feel disempowered, you feel disconnected from the work, and that really is draining. And you know, we didn't sign up to go to these jobs that we felt passionate about, to be treated like this, right? And by this system, this person named system, right? So in short, our systems drain us because they are designed for extraction, not exchange. They prioritize control over coherence and efficiency over energy. To truly support us, systems need to be redesigned to honor our energy, our rhythms, and contributions. And I could go on about this, but I'm going to kind of leave it at that, in regards to, you know, why our system drains us and drains our energy. There's many things that we can do to come back and, you know, reflect differently of how we want to be in these systems. Some of the things I wrote down is to support your energy is to introduce micro rituals of coming back to your breath, or, you know, introducing pauses within your day, intentional pauses. You know, we could set alarms on your phone to be like, yep, going on my, and make sure you go on your breaks, but not just breaks, but intentional pauses where you come back to yourself. You stop, you breathe, you have a drink of water, you know, you do things that will anchor you back. And next one, anchor stillness between tasks. That was brought up today in the talk. Reclaim your field through presence, not performance. So being present, we stabilize our energetic field, which allows our field to self-organize. And when we perform, we act from what we feel is expected of us, which leaks our energy, right? So our energy will become distorted because we're trying to manage a perception rather than embodying our truth. So authenticity is so good, even though it makes us feel vulnerable and, you know, a little timid about that, right? Yeah. And one other thing I wrote is we reflect coherence back to the system. So we can mirror our energy, our energy field. We'll talk about our energy. And I've been doing a lot of I'm trying to talk this out on here, but I've been doing a lot of like deep thoughts around energy and how it affects our energy field, and because I do Reiki as well, right? But if we can have a coherent energy field, And coherence, and I wrote this all out too, is really short of it is aligned, it's stable, our energy field without any rigidity, and it's the foundation of a lot of, you know, our resonance work. So that's around, you know, keeping our body, mind, heart all aligned, and we'll say regulated, right? And and true to our authentic self, right? So if our energy field is coherent, we become that resonance anchor, a point of stability that others can align with. And coherence, or that, you know, have you ever been around someone who is just so calming, and then you start to feel calm and you don't know why? And it's just like their presence, right? It's those mirror neurons that everyone's talking about. But yeah, just something to think about, something that came up, and I want to keep talking about it. I just feel like there's a lot of like pointing fingers within the systems that we work in, and how can we, I often say we need the bridge party. Forget all the other political parties. Let's have the bridge party. It's like we meet in the middle of the bridge, and we figure it out, right? Instead of like pointing fingers and blaming and shaming and you know, looking at ourselves like we're the problem, when really it's just, you know, something we need to look at a little deeper. Yeah. Anyways, I hope everyone is doing well, and look forward to the next time I come on here and go on. Thanks for listening to my rambling, and yeah, have a good night or day.